minor, just electrification, and just other. Electrification is important, but it is not the totality of what we have to do, and we may want to do more. We had at our caucus a couple of days ago, what's today? Wednesday, yeah, Monday, the chairman once again presenting what the debate will be in the committees, what the priorities are. Our goal is by September 15th that we will have every committee reporting. Now, what was important about yesterday is we could do all of that. We could mark up bills, but we could not report to the Rules Committee, to the Budget Committee without passing a budget bill. And a budget bill that retains the privilege of 51 votes in the Senate. That's why yesterday was fraught with so much meaning, to protect the privilege of 51 votes, enabling in a timely fashion the committee's report. So the members have now on the ongoing, but continue to be alerted to make their voices heard in terms of the substance in the bills and the pay-fors, because we want to pay for this bill. I'd like to have it totally paid for. We'll see what is possible. The Ways and Means Committee under Richie Neal has been working with the Senate and others. I won't go into his context, but so members are making their views known on what the pay-fors can be, and that some are new, some are pretty standard fare, but it's a question of how much. So that's what will be happening, and some committees will be marking up before September 15th, but everyone by September 15th, we write a bill with the Senate, because it's no use our doing a bill that is not going to pass the Senate in the interest of getting things done, getting results. So we don't want to go as slow as the slowest ship, but we also don't want to underutilize any resource, and that resource would be what the Senate rules will allow to proceed. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting, and it goes back to the vision of the president, a vision that he discussed in his campaign, that he made known in his State of the Union. You know, people ask me, I bring this up because it's Women's Equality Week. At the State of the Union, there were two of us, very distinguished Vice President Kamala Harris, of whom we're very, very proud, especially as Californians, but nonetheless, the country very proud. And people asked me afterward, how did it feel to be up there with two women standing behind the president in the State of the Union? And I said, well, it was wonderful, yeah, but what was even more wonderful is that the president's speech was about advancing women in the workplace, child care, family and medical leave, child tax credit, all of those things, workforce development, universal pre-K. It was a speech that not only had the fact that two women were there, but that all women would be served in a very positive way as we go forward. It's transformational. The priorities, the amounts, and the rest, it's transformational. So we want to get that done. Again, I want to salute the caucus because they always make me proud, and once again they did yesterday. I always have confidence in what they're going to do. I told you about the floor recap and the rest. Go back better. Okay, so right now we continue to have the challenge of COVID. As you know, the variant is, the Delta variant is threatening. I salute the FDA. Janet Woodcock did a wonderful job bringing this full approval forward in a timely fashion, respecting all of the scientific requirements that are there. And now that we have the full approval for those who were reluctant because it didn't have full approval, and those organizations who did not feel that they could require the vaccine until there was full approval, hopefully that will give us some more momentum. As children go back to school, this is really important that adults who can't, people of 12 and over, I've got adult, my grandchildren, that they will be vaccinated so that they don't put younger children at risk until there can be approval for vaccine for them. But anyway, in the meantime, let's just crush this virus. And people have to know that as it spreads, that's a way for it to mutate, and that we don't need another variant, but we always have to be prepared. So I congratulated the president yesterday on the fact that the vaccine had now received full approval. And again, very important for some of what we have in the rescue package at the beginning of the year to take effect in the schools for distancing and ventilation and other safety precautions for the children. Again, when we talk about challenges that we have in our country, we have these fires in the West, floods in Tennessee. The president approved a major disaster declaration for Tennessee. Middle Tennessee region has had flooding and deaths. In California, we have the river, in the West, we have the river and Dixie fires, which the president has declared major disaster for as well. And so we have to understand how, again, many of us think if we can address the climate crisis, we can deal in a better way to prevent some of this. But in any event, in the immediate here and now, our sympathy goes out to those in Tennessee who've lost their loved ones. It's very sad. 18 people have lost their lives so far, and people, their families, and those who've lost some of their livelihood and homes we sympathize with as similarly. And we're fortunate so far in California in terms of it's not fortunate to lose your home and your job and everything else, but containing any loss of life. Takes me down to Afghanistan. Hopes and prayers and thoughts are with the people there. We salute our men and women in uniform, our diplomats, our intelligence people who have worked so hard in the Afghanistan arena for a number of years, and especially right now. Again, I salute my members, Jason Crow taking the lead on legislation, allies, and hope that to help those who helped us, and hopefully as many of those people will be evacuated as possible, hopefully all. But this is a tragic situation. I've been there 8 or 9 times, and most of the time we visited women in the hinterlands. We would go on Mother's Day under the leadership of Susan Davis, our former colleague, and we would want to just see, with all the respect in the world for all the women who advance as judges and doctors and heads of universities and leading figures, we also were visiting the poorest of the poor women and seeing what their aspirations were for their daughters to be able to go to school and the rest. So we've changed Afghanistan in that respect, and that women have seen the light of day, but now that is under threat. And we want to make sure that there's a big bright light shining on Afghanistan if they wish to participate globally in any way. Respect for women and people in general is a factor in all of that. So with that, I'll take a question.
Madam Speaker. When did you learn that Congressman Moulton and Congressman Meyer had traveled to Afghanistan, and is that what prompted your letter instructing members not to travel to the region?
When did I learn? Around the same time, a little before it was in the public domain. I'll tell you why it wasn't in the we didn't make it known because it would be dangerous for them. So a matter of hours, but still until they were airborne, it would not have been safe for them. The Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, there's a real concern about members being in the region. And so with the shall we say, knowledge of the Secretary of Defense as to what the risk would be to these members, the resources necessary to facilitate their visit and to protect them was an opportunity cost of what we needed to do to be evacuating as many people as possible. So it's not just about them going to Afghanistan, we're not even going to the region because there's a call on our resources diplomatically, politically, militarily, and the rest in the region as well. So this is deadly serious. We do not want members to go.
So you're disappointed in them specifically? You wish they hadn't gone?
I haven't heard what they're, in other words, let me just say, I think my letter speaks for itself in terms of people shouldn't be going there.
Madam Speaker.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, just on that front, I mean, have you spoken to them since their
No, I haven't.
visit?
I don't know. I guess they're back now, are they? I haven't spoken to them since, no.
Do you see their trip as a distraction?
I don't think this is so much of a distraction. I mean, the point is that we didn't want anybody to think this was a good idea and that they should try to follow suit. Again, I've been busy. It's an important thing. We wanted to make sure they were safe for themselves, but also for what consequences could flow, a ramification if something happened to them while they were there. So they have to make their own case as to why they went and this or that. But it was not, in my view, a good idea.
Do you intend
And
to speak with them then?
we'll see. Well, I mean, there are other. They have their committees. See, when you go, sure, this is not just like I think I'm going to go to Afghanistan. You need the approval of your committee chair in order to do that. And we've put out the word to committee chairs. There ain't going to be no planes or this or that for people going to the region or any facilitation. See, the Defense Department has to protect, but the State Department has to facilitate. Really? We're trying to get people out. So again, without having a fuller knowledge of, I don't think they had any committee approval. I don't know that. I don't know what happened on the Republican side, but my understanding is they didn't have committee approval on the Democratic side. But in any event, interesting. I don't think a major distraction because we put an end to any thought that anybody was going there right away. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And to that end on Afghanistan, with this Herculean effort to try to withdraw these folks and get people out safely and evacuate them, what does it say about the fact that two members, a Democrat and Republican, and I've talked to a number of officers who are working the phones constantly to get people out, that they feel so desperate that people need to be evacuated that they need to freelance on their own? Does that speak to this problem about the evacuation?
No, I think it speaks to that they want to freelance on their own. I would not make anything bigger of this. We have a big challenge to get people out safely and to get them. I talked to Malala last week. You know Malala. She's the heroine of the world. Personal sacrifice, great leadership. And we talked about women and girls, which is part of what her foundation does. But she basically, in our conversation and a follow-up letter, said, most important thing right now is for us to have the U.S. to have a strong military presence at the airport and the opportunity for people to get to the airport. It is not in furtherance of that strength for us to have members going over there. Yes, Pelosi. Yes, sir.
Mr. Crow, who you mentioned is leading the effort, in the caucus
Yes.
on this, he said yesterday he's against withdrawing our troops by the 31st. He said, if we aren't willing to use the military to protect U.S. citizens and our partners and our friends, then what do we use it for? Do you think that this is the wrong decision to stick by this deadline if there are potentially thousands, tens of thousands of Afghans, partners, their families that are left behind?
Well, we obviously have made a promise and we want to honor it. And I have the enormous respect for Mr. Crow. He's been a leader, just visionary. He saw what would happen early on and was a leader in passing the legislation in a way to facilitate. The judgment about leaving is a judgment that the president has made. And he has to balance the equities of what is the threat to our military and the people at the airport and versus the advantage of staying. And that's kind of what he said yesterday, but I think more will unfold in that regard. So I'm not, I think at our most, I can't go into what happened at the caucus yesterday, but one impression that one might take of people coming out, which I was there for, but people coming out is that people really wanted to encourage the president to stay longer. But he has to, as I say, weigh the equities of the danger versus the advantage, and I trust his judgment.
Madam Speaker?
Do you know?
I'm curious
Yes, sir.
about your reaction to your reflection on this week with the Gottheimer crew. You've been through a lot of these
Yeah.
in the last 15 years. I'm curious what your reflection is on what they frame as a deal, you say is not much of a deal.
Well, no, it's not. It's a clarification. It's a clarification, but it is, look, we had a vision. We have a vision about how we go forward. It is in grasp because of the reconciliation. There are those who'd like to see the reconciliation be smaller, and some of that from the outside and had an impact on some of the debate. But I have tremendous respect for all of our members and what their views are and what they bring to the table. And what, at the end of the day, what had to prevail was the president's vision and the needs of America's working families, and they saw that. We would have had to pass infrastructure bill by October 1st anyway, by September 30th anyway, because the authorizations expire and for highway and some of the things in the bill. And so we're talking about a couple of days earlier. But again, their participation was constructive. I welcome it. And I was pleased that we were able to get 100% of the Democrats to vote.
Madam
And again,
Speaker,
let
do
me
you know-
take it back to our colleagues. The steam that was in our caucus was to get this done for the president, for the American people, for America's working families. And our unity, as I always say, our diversity is our strength, our unity is our power. We had our diversity, we had our discussions, we're respectful all around, and our unity was our power. That's it? That's it. Thank you all very much. Thank you.